Medical Dialogues, your daily dose of health and medical news. I'm Roshni Dhar. Let's look at today's daily bulletin. The daughter of a Beedi worker who lost her father when she was just 6.5 years old has cleared her NEET examination and secured an MBBS seat with the help of YouTube videos. Hailing from a small village in Telangana's Nizamabad district, she has been allotted a seat at the Siddipet Government Medical College after clearing her NEET UG entrance examination 2022. She secured a 40,958 position at the All India level in this year's NEET exam and her rank at the state level with 703. The whole-time director of Pharma company Aurobindo Pharma, Sharat Chandra Reddy, has recently been arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in Delhi Excise Police 2021 and 22 money laundering case. As per the official website of Aurobindo Pharma, Sharat Chandra Reddy, a graduate of business administration and is a second-generation entrepreneur belonging to the promoter group. The Enforcement Directorate has arrested two businessmen belonging to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana in the matter. The businessmen have been identified as Sharat Chandra Reddy and Binoy Babu. They were arrested under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act following day-long questioning with them here at the Enforcement Directorate headquarters on Wednesday. Taking cognizance of the complaints from students regarding exorbitant fees at the private medical colleges, the State Health Department of Tamil Nadu has recently issued warning to the self-aided medical institutes. Colleges have been warned of strict action if they demand higher fees than what has been prescribed by the Fee Fixation Committee. In fact, the colleges could lose their approval and affiliation with the university as well. The National Medical Commission will no longer be associated with the prestigious Dr. B.C. Roy National Board, the Apex Medical Education Regulatory Body has recently stated. Further, NMC has also announced its decision of getting disassociated with Silver Jubilee Research Award and Hari Om Ashram Alembic Research Award. NMC took this decision on the basis of its meeting with the Union Health Ministry on 26th of September 2022 and another subsequent meeting with the Minister of State for the Union Health Ministry on 7th of October 2022. A team of researchers from the Keck School of Medicine at USC conducted the first known comparison of the brains of boys and girls with binge eating disorder and discovered notable changes in brain structure between the sexes. The research was recently published in Psychological Medicine. The study, which builds on earlier work suggesting that binge eating disorder is wired in the brain from an early age, is an important first step in understanding the neurobiology of binge eating disorder and how it differs between the sexes. It also presents critical evidence that males who in the past were left out of research on eating disorders must be included in future efforts to understand the origins of eating disorders.
A new study involving McGill researchers now suggests that the annual global death toll from outdoor PM 2.5 may be significantly higher than previously thought. That's because the researchers found that mortality risk was increased even at very low levels of outdoor PM 2.5, ones which had not previously been recognized as being potentially deadly. These microscopic toxins cause a range of cardiovascular and respiratory diseases and cancers. The researchers arrived at this conclusion by combining health and mortality data for 7 million Canadians gathered over a 25-year period with the information about the levels of outdoor PM 2.5 concentrations across the country. Canada is a country with low levels of outdoor PM 2.5, making it the perfect place to study health impacts at low concentrations. Knowledge gained in Canada was then used to update the lower end of the scale that is used to describe how mortality risk changes with outdoor PM 2.5 levels. The result? An improved understanding of how air pollution impacts health on a global scale. When people with asthma wonder what forms of exercise might cause an asthma flare, they may not take sexual relations into account. A new study being presented at this year's American College of Allergy, Asthma and Immunology annual scientific meeting in Louisville shows that sex can be an underdiagnosed trigger for asthma exacerbations. The researchers wanted to investigate whether case studies on asthma exacerbations mentioned sexual activity as a possible cause. Many people don't realize that the energy expenditure of sexual activity is about equivalent to walking up 2 flights of stairs, they said. According to the 2018 US Census, smartphones are present in 85% of American households. They are reportedly viewed 14 million times a day, making them potential receptacles for environmental hazards such as allergens. A new study being presented at this year's American College of Allergy, Asthma and Immunology annual scientific meeting in Louisville showed elevated levels of cat and dog allergens as well as beta-D glucans or BDG and endotoxin on simulated phone models. The researchers created phone models that had a similar size and surface to a real phone, and the front surface of the phone model was wiped as part of the test. Electrostatic wipes or ESWs were used to sample simulated phone models of 15 volunteers, and the phones were then measured for allergens, BDG, and endotoxin levels. An enzyme that drives the growth of an often lethal childhood brain cancer may hold the key to a future treatment, says a McMaster University-led study. Researchers discovered that by blocking the production of an enzyme called DHODH, they were able to halt the growth of MYC gene-amplified medulloblastoma in mouse models, the most aggressive subtype of this cancer.
Headache is most common pain that is suffered by many. Now, tension type headache is the most common primary headache disorder. Now, as per the Global Burden of the Disease study in 2010, tension type headache is the second most common disorder worldwide with an estimated prevalence of close to 20.8%. Trigger factors have been widely studied in the context of migraine, but very few studies have actually investigated these trigger factors in the context of this tension type headache. So to study the prevalence of these trigger factors and the associated disorders in this particular type of headache, the researchers conducted a study including close to a total of 400 patients over the age of 15 years, who all those were fulfilling the International Classification of Headache Disorders criteria of frequent episodic tension type headache as well as the chronic tension type headache. Details regarding their demographics, their headache characteristics, the trigger factors as well as the associated symptoms were all obtained. The associated, even the psychiatric disorders were also recorded. The results of the study did show that out of the 400 patients, 360, that is around 90%, were found to have triggers. The mean headache intensity on the visual analog scale was 6.7. The most common trigger factor was emotional stress among both males as well as females. There was a statistically significant difference in the frequency of the trigger factors between men and women for emotional stress, sunlight, sleep deprivation or insomnia as we all call it, noise, weather change, studying, fried food and even hypersomnia. Psychiatric comorbidity was found in 29% of the individuals, with sleep disorder being the most common factor. Tension type headache has been an underrated diagnosis despite being an extremely common disorder. The trigger factors are very less studied and their interactions are very even lesser known. So the diagnostic criteria as per the International Classification of Headache Disorders did make tension headache a diagnosis of exclusion rather than a positive diagnosis of inclusion. Therefore, the trigger factors must all be included in the diagnostic criteria, and associated psychiatric disorders should be sought for and treated simultaneously for better management as well as the quality of life. Silicosis is one among the oldest occupational lung diseases known, that is actually caused by inhalation, retention and pulmonary reaction to the crystalline form of silica. A variety of occupational exposures are associated with the occurrence of silicosis, that is mining, quarrying, cement, glass construction, ceramic, foundries, shipbuilding, rubber, cosmetic industries, jewelry, arts and crafts, sculpturing, dental materials and many others. Several studies for many years have drawn attention to actually all this causing renal dysfunction and nephrotoxicity among the workers who are specifically exposed to silica. So this present study was conducted to actually evaluate the renal dysfunction among the Indian patients having silicosis and its correlation with the duration of exposure to silica dust. So the study included 52 eligible patients with a history of silica dust exposure and silicosis did confirm on radiological examination. Investigations like their serum creatinine, their urine albumin, creatinine ratio was all done. The modification of diet in the renal disease formula was also used to calculate the GFR. So this study did show that 53.84% of the patients having albuminuria and a mean urinary albumin to creatinine ratio was also calculated. Isolated macroalbuminuria was detected in about 11.5% of the patients, while microalbuminuria was 42.3%. They also identified a significant association between the duration of exposure to silica dust and urinary albumin to creatinine ratio as well as the GFR. Hence, the researchers concluded that albuminuria as well as reduced estimated GFR in patients with silica dust exposure is not uncommon and it reflects the early underlying renal dysfunctions. This study suggests a simple and cost-effective screening strategy for the early detection of renal dysfunction, specifically among silicosis patients, that may be considered as a tool to prevent further renal damage in such patients. That's all for today. Stay tuned to Medical Dialogues for latest updates.
Never miss a medical update from Medical Dialogues. Like, subscribe, and press the bell icon.